Sit up straight for a second. Notice what's happening under you right now. A frame is holding your spine at 90 degrees, your knees are bent at 90 degrees, and your feet are flat on the floor. Now try something. Try squatting instead, flat-footed, heels down, for even 2 minutes. For most people reading this, that position is uncomfortable almost immediately. Tight hips, tight ankles, a strange sense of imbalance. And that discomfort is strange because for most of human history, squatting flat-footed on the ground was not a stretch. It was resting position. The chair, the thing under you right now, is one of the only pieces of furniture that has quietly rewired the human body to need it. And it is a bigger deal than it looks. The global furniture industry is worth over $600 billion a year. And seating, chairs, sofas, stools, office seating is one of its largest single categories. Somewhere along the way, a piece of wood, stone, or woven reed became one of the most desired objects a human being could own. So the real question is not just when the chair was invented, it's why so much of humanity decided it needed one at all, when most of the world, for most of history, sat on the ground. Here is the problem with answering that question cleanly. Chairs, like shoes, are made of materials that rot. Wood decays. Woven seats disintegrate. Unless a chair was buried in a tomb, sealed in dry sand, or carved from stone, it simply does not survive thousands of years. So archaeologists are not just hunting for chairs, they are hunting for the rare, elite, deliberately preserved examples, and then trying to infer what an ordinary person, who almost never owned one, was doing instead. And what they keep finding is the same pattern, over and over. The chair did not start as a comfort object. It started as a status object. The oldest surviving chairs come from ancient Egypt, and they are unmistakably about power. In the tomb of Tutankhamun, opened in 1922, Howard Carter found a golden throne, wood covered in gold leaf, inlaid with glass, faience, and semi-precious stone, its arms shaped into protective cobras. That throne was never meant for daily use. Ordinary Egyptians sat on mats, low stools, or the ground. A chair with a back and arms was reserved for royalty and the gods. To sit elevated above the floor everyone else occupied was to visibly outrank them. That same logic shows up almost everywhere chairs appear early. In ancient Greece, the klismos chair, light, curved, elegant, was a furnishing for the wealthy, shown constantly on painted pottery as a marker of a refined household. In Rome, magistrates sat on the sella curulis, a foldable, legless X-frame stool with no back at all, reserved specifically for the highest-ranking officials. It was so tied to authority that losing the right to sit on one was a form of political disgrace. The Roman Senate did not need comfortable chairs. It needed a chair that visibly announced who was allowed to make decisions. Meanwhile, across most of the rest of the inhabited world, chairs barely existed at all, and that is not a gap in the archaeological record. It is the actual, normal human default. In Japan, seating on tatami mats persisted for over 1,000 years, with formal kneeling, seiza, as the respectful posture, not sitting up on a raised frame. Across much of the Middle East, North Africa, and South and Southeast Asia, floor cushions, low platforms, and woven mats were, and in many households still are, the primary way people sit, eat, and receive guests. Anthropologists studying traditional societies have repeatedly found something consistent. Adults in floor-sitting, squatting cultures retain deep hip and ankle flexibility well into old age that chair-sitting populations typically lose by middle age. The floor was not a lesser option. It was, functionally, a full-body resting posture that a raised chair simply does not require. So here is the tangent that loops back. If most of the world sat comfortably on the ground for millennia, why did the chair eventually win, globally, almost everywhere? Part of the answer is medieval Europe, where the chair slowly stopped being only a throne and started creeping into merchant households as a display of new wealth, alongside a genuinely strange invention. The folding chair, the Savonarola chair, portable enough that European nobility would travel with their own seat of authority rather than sit on furniture that wasn't theirs. But the real turning point, the one that put a chair under almost every human being on Earth, was industrial, not political. In 1859, a German-Austrian cabinet maker named Michael Thonet patented a technique for steam-bending solid wood and used it to mass-produce chair number 14. It required only 6 pieces of wood, could be shipped disassembled in flat crates, and could be manufactured by the millions rather than carved one at a time by hand. It is often cited as one of the best-selling chairs in history, showing up in cafes from Vienna to Buenos Aires. The chair had officially stopped being a throne. It had become a commodity, and once factories could pump out chairs faster than any craftsman ever could, sitting up off the ground stopped being a privilege and became simply the default. The thing every school desk, every dining room, every office cubicle was built around. And that is where the story quietly turns the same way the shoes did. Because just as rigid soles slowly changed the shape of the human foot, the chair has slowly changed the shape of the human body that depends on it. Modern researchers studying prolonged sitting have found weaker hip flexors, tighter hamstrings, and reduced core activation in habitual chair sitters compared with populations that still spend significant time on the ground. We built a raised wooden platform to mark who had power. Then we mass-produced it until almost nobody sat any other way. And the body, no longer asked to fold, balance, and stabilize itself close to the earth, quietly adapted to the shortcut we gave it. So here's the honest answer. The chair was not invented once for one reason. It was invented as a throne, refined as a status symbol, and only became universal once a factory in Austria figured out how to bend 6 pieces of wood fast enough to give one to everybody. Tonight, somewhere, a factory is stamping out office chairs by the thousand. And somewhere else, someone is sitting cross-legged on the floor, hips loose, spine unsupported, doing exactly what the human body was built to do all along.